Hey everyone, Steve Britton here. It's April the 26th, a Thursday in the year 2018, and it's official. Spring is finally here, and I've got out the old Hawaiian shirt in celebration. So let's have some fun today. Let's talk about freedom and free speech and all that good stuff, and do what we can do for today. We have Kanye West making waves with a set of tweets supporting Donald Trump and hinting at a presidential run of his own in 2024. Of course, the internet went absolutely apeshit with Rosie O'Donnell melting down. Now, wouldn't that be nice if it was actually literal? Perez Hilton suggested that he was being used by the Republican Party. Taylor Swift's music video director slammed him, saying, "Rich people supporting Trump isn't free thinking. It's just rich people being rich, fucking the poor." Real professional there, buddy. Kanye's wife, Kim Kardashian, actually said something insightful when she said that she believes in people being able to have their own opinions, even when different from hers. Whoa! Kim Kardashian is now the most sensible voice on the left? Now the world must be coming to an end or something. So, that's what's in the news today. And of course, it does make a really good segue and it makes a nice sideshow, but it does make a nice segue into what I wanted to raise today as my discussion topic, which is the subject of freedom and our inherent, inalienable rights. Now, I am the first to admit that I am not a student of philosophy, other than my own. I think it's more of an asset, though, than a weakness, though, because it means my thoughts and beliefs belong to me. They're my own, rather than being influenced by others. I have read some philosophical works, such as Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, and I've also read both Animal Farm and 1984 by George Orwell. Atlas Shrugged is probably simultaneously both the best and the worst book I've ever read. Only Ayn Rand would write an entire chapter, over 100 pages, of a speech delivered by one character and then have that one speech completely change the world. It's a little far-fetched. There are other critiques for the book as well, such as Rand's treatment of sex between the characters, but overall, as a way of advancing her basic ideological viewpoint, the novel certainly does that part very well, and I think with some major revisions, Atlas Shrugged could actually be a very good story. So my point in saying all this is much of my philosophy and ideology has developed organically and evolutionarily on its own through my discussions and arguments with friends and online. Now, by now, if you've been watching me frequently, you've probably come to conclude that I'm a huge proponent of individual freedom. I used to refer to myself as a libertarian, and I certainly do have a strong libertarian streak in me, but I can't really call myself a die-hard libertarian. I also hold very strong conservative views, but I'm not a major hardline social conservative. So ultimately, I'm simply going to describe myself as Steve, because that's what I am. And most of us are simply ourselves. Nobody has 100% agreement in all aspects of their philosophy and ideology. And of course, that's perfectly fine. We all tend to gravitate towards people with similar ideological mindsets, or at least people who are free-thinking and tolerant enough of others that we can get along with them. Now, all this at the base level are examples of the principle of liberty, which is one of the three fundamental pillars of freedom. The other two pillars are, of course, life and property. These three pillars of freedom are not a result of laws or of constitutional conventions, but they are real. They are inherent and they are tangible. They exist as fundamental realities of nature rather than government-produced laws. We have the right to life simply because we are alive. The right to life is something that cannot be taken away from us. The only time we forfeit this right to life is by violating somebody else's right to life. Now, the right to property is also a tangible and real thing, in that we have the right to possess and to enjoy stuff. We forfeit the right to property, like we would forfeit the right to life, by violating another's right to property. Next, in the case of property, it would be by stealing something from them. Now, intellectual property counts. Now, lastly, the big one is the right to liberty, the right to be free, because it's huge. It encompasses a lot. Liberty means freedom of movement. It means freedom of thought. It means freedom of speech. It means freedom of expression. None of these freedoms can be taken away unless you violate somebody else's liberty first. Now, I'm raising this issue because there are many people in today's day and age, and they're all on the left, whether they're radical feminists, social justice warriors, Liberal Party of Canada supporters, Justin Trudeau, the NDP, whatever, who want to stifle and remove our liberty. Now, in the UK, free speech is already dead, as we saw earlier this week with the Count Dankula fiasco, as well as that young woman in Liverpool who posted lyrics by Snapdog. We've seen people banned from the UK, arrested, detained, and deported, all for voicing their opinions. And we've seen smaller acts of deplatforming as well. People getting banned from Twitter or from YouTube or Patreon, all for having the so-called wrong opinions. Kanye West has been ganged up on by the outrage mob over on Twitter. I've had it happen to me. Shortly after the last federal election here in Canada, I got mobbed, and more recently when Cat Black retweeted a pinned tweet of mine. Those mobs are more of a case of people trying to drive you, to bully you, off the platform, but they're all examples of what I'm talking about. All for voicing an opinion. It's been said that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance, and I couldn't agree more. The issues change, but every generation we go through this over and over again, fighting for our freedoms and values against those who would oppress us. Sadly, while in the past it has largely been a battle of ideas and words, this time around, the war for freedom has become violent, mostly likely due to social media and what it has done to the way that we talk to each other. This must be stopped. We have to resist, with every ounce of our strength, those who would prevent us from expressing ourselves freely and peacefully. Now, we do this by flatly refusing to back down. The harder they push, the harder we resist. If they knock one of us down, two more of us have to show up somewhere else. Now, this way we'll keep them off balance. We also have to laugh. Laughing is critical because the sound of laughter is the sound of freedom. And there's nothing a leftist, a Canadian Liberal Party supporter, an NDP supporter, Justin Trudeau, a US Democrat, a feminist, a social justice warrior, hates more than the sound of laughter. So mock them. Mess with them. Point out how ridiculous they are at every opportunity. Together, we will prevail. I'm Steve Britton.